Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Rachel Lee. I am the founder of The Shed and Whole Woman Health, and I am so happy to have Liz Giordano on today to talk to you about The Shed and her experience with it and all the things that you want to know from somebody who's done it versus me just telling you what it's like. Like, this is like the inside scoop. Like, we're going to go underground and she's going to give you everything. And it comes from a woman who's just like you, right? Busy, mother of three, runs her own successful real estate practice, Wallace Properties, always on the go, big lives, and wants it to be that way. Doesn't want to sacrifice all of that, yet still wants the health and the wellness and the sleep and the body composition. She wants it all. So I figure the best way to do this is to bring Liz on and have her share her experience of the program with all of you. So, Liz, thank you for doing this.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to be here.
Okay. So tell everybody, like, first of all, why you decided to do The Shed. Like, what was happening in life?
So I think for me, as you kind of pointed out, I have three young kids. I am a full-time realtor, and I got to the point where I am so focused on getting my kids to their activities, taking care of my kids. I have a kiddo that has really, really high anxiety that needs a lot of support at school. So that became a really big focus for me, in addition to, managing my two littles, that we call them, my two younger kids. And I became the very last thing I ever thought about. And it became to a point where, I wasn't sleeping, and people would sit there and say, well, that's a choice you're making. And it became very frustrating for me because I sat there and I couldn't understand how it was my choice not to sleep or not to take care of myself. And I think I got to the point where I just had hit such a low place where I was feeling so crappy about myself, and so short with my kids and short with my husband, and everything it was happening to me. And I just needed to find a solution. And so I Googled everything and I came across The Shed, and we had a call, and when I was sharing with you and you were talking to me, it just resonated that my life is not, hopefully eventually it gets less chaotic and less crazy, but the reality is it's never going to go away. And so how do I learn to kind of live and navigate and take care of myself and prioritize myself while also still taking care of those things that are really important to me?
It's the balance, the elusive balance that we all talk about. And like, how do we strike that balance?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it has taken me a year and almost a half, I think, to kind of learn that, I've spent all of that time sitting there saying, if something changes, if this one thing happens, and I finally come to realize that that's not life, right? Life is messy and life is chaotic, and especially my life. And so The Shed provided a lot of tools for me to sit there and say, okay, I can feel crappy and I can be frustrated with what's going on right now. And that's okay. And it's okay to sit in that. And it's okay to just say, I'm mad or I'm frustrated. And then all of a sudden sit there and be like, how do I work myself out of that? What tools do I need to use to get out of that? And I think that without The Shed, there are a lot of tools I wouldn't have used and I wouldn't have learned. And I have felt a huge mindset shift, especially in the last 6 to 7 months of, you know what, it's not happening to me, and I can navigate this, and I can ask for help, and I can sit there and say, this is not okay, or I want to change this. And one of the biggest tools that I think has helped me the most are the mindset models, where I sit there and I just say, it's kind of, this is how I'm feeling, and this is what's happening, and this is the circumstance, and this is my perspective. And then you sit there and you look at it and you're like, got it. It's a feeling. It's a perspective. You can change that. And so then I can sit there and stay with that as long as I need to, and then sit there and say, okay, what do I want my new perspective to be? And I get to choose that. And up until The Shed, I never realized that I got to choose, how I felt, or choose kind of what my thoughts were and what my mindset was and how much that controls and changes how I act and behave towards life.
Mhm. It's like, and just so everybody, so we're clear with everybody. So Liz came in and she did originally the 90-day shed program, right? So you really focused on your nutrition. We did your labs. We dialed in, like, what does this look like for you? We cleaned house on the body, so to say. And then you moved into the master's program, which takes all of that foundation, pulls it into the next, and like you said, you've been doing it for a year of like, okay, that's my foundation for my physical well-being. Now I have to work on my life well-being, my mental well-being, right? Like all the other things that are impacting your health. So
Yeah.
that's what you did. And what I'm hearing is like, it's like you were so in it before. There was never any time or space to just check in with yourself of like, what do I want?
Mhm.
What's going on here? Right? Like what's my play? What's my role? What's the gift in this? What do I need to learn from? You just don't even hear yourself. It's like you're just like such an afterthought. And now
Yes.
you're like, okay, let's get some clarity on this, which I'm hearing you say, and I've seen within the coaching is like, it gives you power.
Mhm.
You're so much more like when you come to the calls, you're just like, okay, bring it. Let's go. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
I got this.
Yeah. And I think that, the 90-day is really different from the master's program in the sense that the 90-day, you spend the first 30 days and that portion is really similar to a lot of other programs, right? Because you eliminate everything from your diet and you sit there and you start to add things back. And so that's where I saw the biggest shift physically for me in that 90-day program. But I wasn't sitting there really focused on the mental aspect at all. It was like, okay, I'm not allowed to eat this, this, and this. And then slowly you kind of start to add things back. And I think that once you start to add those things back and you sit there and you all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, life hasn't changed, right? So the only thing that changed was I just eliminated everything from my diet. So how do I add things back and still move forward and still stay focused on getting healthy and getting back into the shape I was in before I had my babies, which is a constant work in progress. But I think that, it's the second 60 days of that 90-day shed is a lot of work that I had to put in and that I had to do. And, we have our weekly calls and then it's like, okay, you kind of almost got not homework, but it was almost like, okay, go work on this. This is the coaching. And now like you have to put that work in to get out of the program what you want and what your goals are. So it helped a lot because it wasn't just here's 90 days, don't eat anything, don't do anything and you're going to hit your goal weight. It was okay to hit your goal weight or to get moving in that direction. You have to put the work in and it's not just a really easy, like, yeah, I'm just following these meals. It's no, you gotta put the effort in and the work in. And I think that that's something that, was really helpful for me to learn that I can still lose weight. I can still work out. I can still work towards getting healthy with my life the way it is. And I can add in the foods that I like. I didn't have to pause everything all the time. And so that was also really nice. And so that's part of why I decided to move into the master's program, because I didn't feel that I was done with the work, and why I've extended again, because I'm still not done.
It's like, it's always like evolving, right? Because as soon as you get one thing, then it's like almost like the next door. It's like a line of doors. And it's almost like, okay, you go through one door and then you do that work and then you're moving forward, and then you accomplish that. And then of course, because we're evolving humans, you're like, well, what's through the next door? What could it be like over there? And then you keep going and you keep going and you keep going, which is awesome. I mean, that's like life coaching right there. That's growth mindset and growth in general. And not everybody has to do that. Like, let's be clear, right? Like not everybody has to do that, but you really understood the value of no, my life impacts how I take care of myself. And so therefore I need to go more to the root, and that's life. Okay. So if this is life, then what's the system to work within those guidelines, within the boundary of that, I call it the ecosystem,
Mhm.
versus like square peg, round hole, trying to have this quote unquote perfect diet that you're like, who does this?
Yeah.
Like like you're like, who does this? They clearly don't have a job or children, or I don't know, they just live like in an ashram on an island by themselves and they can to focus on themselves 100% of the time every day.
Yes.
That's not reality, right? It
Yeah.
has to work within reality.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part for you, right? Because this is not a beginner program and this is not the easy quick fix. Like you have to earn it, and which is awesome, right? But that's hard. So what was the hardest part for you?
I think the hardest part during the 90-day for me was acknowledging that almost that I was choosing, or that I was accepting that my life was just the way that my life was, and there was nothing that I could do to change it. And so that happened, I think, when I started doing the 30 days of mindset models, that it kind of just, which was probably towards the end of the program, that I finally said, yes, I would do that. Because you've been asking for a long time. But that was when I finally felt a shift. And that was the hardest part, because I had to sit there and I sat with, and I acknowledged a lot of icky feelings that I was pushing down about, the feelings that I had about having to be the sole caregiver for my family. And, when my husband worked full time, and that he got to go and do all of this fun stuff with other humans. And I was with our kids all the time. And then at the same time, I was trying to juggle real estate, and they were always around, and that I was waking up in the middle of the night with my eldest, and all of those things. And I think for me, that was the hardest thing, was to sit there and say, this is not what I want anymore. And I think the fear that I had when I kind of owned that was, it wasn't that I didn't want my life. It was just that I didn't want to have those feelings anymore. And so it was kind of acknowledging that, owning that, and then saying like, okay, now I can move forward. How do I do that? And that was where you really helped a lot, by kind of helping coaching and pushing me a little bit outside of my, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And then eventually I said, okay, I'll do it. And it was just, there was a huge shift, and it wasn't easy. Those mindset models are not always easy and enjoyable, but they're helpful.
Weird. The hard
Yeah.
stuff is usually the stuff that pushes us forward. I know. Yeah.
Weird.
It sounds like you wanted your life, of course, but you hadn't reconciled in your brain, like, I'm choosing this life.
Yes.
You felt like this life was happening to you.
Yes.
And then when you got to that place, you're like, wait a second, no, I'm choosing this, and I'm choosing how I'm treating myself, and I'm treating my family, and I'm showing up every day. Then you were liberated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was for a really long time, this almost victim mentality, right? Of everything's happening to me. And instead of sitting there and being like, no, I'm okay with this happening. I'm okay with it being this way right now, or I'm not okay with it. And how do I change it? Or, it was no longer this idea of I have no control. It was, I am absolutely 100% in control. And I just need to start moving whatever it is forward so that it changes. So I think that was the biggest thing. And it was definitely the hardest.
I'm telling you, I say this and it, right? It's a meal plan, the nutrition, outside of some very obscure health conditions. That is the easy part. If you just follow it, that's the easy part, but anybody can do that, quite frankly. And it's it's all the other stuff that impacts and throws you off of your plan, which I'm really curious is when you were in quote unquote the victim mentality. Okay. So pre-shed, first 30 days, still kind of there. And you were in that mindset of life is happening to me and I have no choice. How were you treating your body, your health and your body?
Oh, horribly. I mean, I think when I started the 90-day and I did the 30-day, cut everything out, that was the best I had treated my body in years, because up until that point, it was eat whatever is available, eat, whatever immediately satiates the feelings that I'm feeling. And it was crap, right? It was fast food, it was leftover kids food, it was candy, it was cookies, it was sugar. I mean, it was all the stuff that does not make you feel good when you come off of that food, right? That high. So you get that high with that food, and then you just hit a crash and you feel shitty, or really bad. And so I think that, the 90-day shed, I felt really good, but I also knew for my lifestyle and with my kids that eliminating everything was not going to be sustainable. And so it was then figuring out, and I'm still figuring it out, right? 10 months later, 12 months later, what kind of the balance is, and it shifts, right? There's weeks where life is really, really hard. And so I tend to not follow what makes me feel the best. And then there's weeks where I get back on it and then I feel better. And so it's never, for me at least, it's never like an easy, like, okay, the switch is on, here we go. It's a constant, struggle and a constant mind shift and a constant, like, the job is never done in my mind. So, I mean, I've been doing this for, I don't know, a year at least, and a year and a half. And it's still a struggle. It's still me putting the work in. It's still me sitting there choosing every single day. Okay, I'm choosing to put myself as a higher priority than I did a year and a half ago. And what does that look like today? And it might look different. Today, it might be I'm sitting on the couch for a day and I'm not doing anything. And then tomorrow it might be like, okay, I'm going and I'm lifting weights and I'm, eating a salad or whatever it might look like. So I think that that's the other thing I learned during the program, is that it doesn't have to look the same every single day, because life is not the same every single day. And so I had a very strict mindset of it's all or nothing. That's how I've always been, is it's either I'm all in and I go to the gym for 2 hours every day and I'm super, crazy about that, or I don't do it at all and I just eat junk food. And so that's not life either. So the program has helped me learn that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing.
Yeah. So you've learned to become malleable.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And have peace around being malleable versus beating yourself up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're always going to win, because it is never Groundhog's Day. Right. But if you can stay kind of within that lane and knowing that the lane can flex, but like we say in the program, like you're never just like in the ditch and riding the ditch for miles and miles and miles. You've got a lane and you can go in the left lane, you can go in the right lane, you can run the middle, right? But it becomes your choice. And then the big piece of that is like, okay, no, this is my choice and I chose this and this lane works and I still feel good. I don't have to beat myself up if I'm way over in the left lane, just straddling the line, right? Like just towing it. That's okay. I've made that decision and I know that my body still feels well there and I can still work with the quote unquote chaos in my life.
Yes.
And it's huge. And for you, because I work with a lot of real estate agents and you all are difficult in the sense of like, you're in your car all the time.
Yeah.
Like that is really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then
Absolutely.
you don't want to be that agent who has her little cooler of food and you're like, hang on while I have a, turkey roll up or something.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So what would you tell people? Because, right, this is not a typical weight loss program. And it is not priced like a weight loss program. It is a significant investment, not just from money, but time, mental energy, right? Like it's an investment across the board. What would you tell people who are like sitting on the fence?
I mean, I think for me, the program was life-changing. And not only did I learn foods because of the testing and foods to eat and foods to avoid, but I also learned a bunch of tools that I can take with me when I finally decide that I've learned enough and I can take it with me, and will stay with me for the rest of my life. And they're tools that I will be able to use no matter what circumstances pop up with my kids, with my husband, with my job, with life, with friends. I can use those tools in every single aspect of my life. And I think the other thing that you don't always get with different programs that you get with the Shed is a community. And I have, I've gained some really good friends from this program that, I didn't have when I started it. And it's one of those things where you don't necessarily realize it, but the more open and the deeper that you can get when you're on the calls, the more you're going to get out of the program and the more you're going to learn and the closer you're going to feel to that community. And I think that, I am a guarded person, but I kind of just finally said, you know what? I want change. And the whole way for me to change is to be open. And I think that that's what most of the women that join the Shed are, is that they want the same things. And so you find that sense of camaraderie that you don't always get in a different program, because it's not just you. You're not the only one that's going through it. You're not the only one that has to eliminate everything. You're not the only one that has the same struggles and issues. And so having that sense of camaraderie, having that chat available, having that community is for me invaluable, and has been invaluable, and something that I will keep, those friends are people I'll keep with me and be friends with for the rest of my life. And so I think between that and the tools, and it's a lot of, you expect, Rachel, you expect a lot of the women that join the Shed. You expect us to put the work in. You expect us to, learn work the tools but you don't shame us when we don't. It's you get out of the program what you put into it. And that's something I think you've said almost every single call we've had is you get, what you put in. And I have just found the more effort that I put in, the stronger I feel, the more confident I feel in who I am as a person and who I am as a mother. And if you're struggling, you send out a message, and you just don't get that with other programs.
That is awesome. And you're right. I do push you all. I push you and I tell you the truth, even when you don't like it. Right.
Yes.
And I expect a lot because I know that you all have a lot to offer. And I know that you are all so important. And when you're not living your best life, it's kind of like we're robbing the world of our best selves. And why? We don't have to do that. Okay, I have another question for you and then I promise we can wrap up unless you have something you have to say. But I'm really curious because right, there's people in the program, you're like, yep, they get it and they freaking crush it and having amazing results. And then let's be real, there's people who don't. Okay, so who would you say this is not for? Because I don't want to put my words in there because I know, but I want to hear it from you as like the participant.
I think that if you are solely looking for a weight loss program, and that's it, and you're just looking for, if you're solely looking for nutritional guidance, this is not the right program for you, because I think that this program is so much more than that. And if that's the mindset is I'm just coming here for nutritional aspects, you will miss out on so many of the things that are that are the Shed, that it's not just, I think the 90-day
Are you trying to be nice? Like, are you trying to soften that?
No, I'm trying to put my words in, because I'm like, first I thought you were asking names, and I was like, oh no.
Here's me, don't be that woman.
Right. Exactly. Okay. I think so. Within the 90-day Shed, right, you have the 30-day detox elimination diet, but that's it. And then you have 60 days that are all about the mental aspect and, the emotional side. And so I think people, if you're looking for just that nutritional aspect, that's not the program. You're not going to get out of the Shed what you should. what you should get out of the shed, because it's more than that. And I think that you will, if that's your goal, you will be disappointed. And I think that if you are guarded and you don't want to be open and you don't want to share what's really going on and be real, you're not going to get out of the shed what you should. And I think that, you know, what I have seen is the more people open up and share about what they're going through, the more everybody gets something out of the shed, the more everybody learns and evolves and grows and changes. And so, you know, if you're looking for just the nutritional aspect and you're planning to be incredibly guarded and surface level, it's not going to be the program for you.
Totally. I would agree with you. If you just want to look at calories and tell me what to eat and have a meal plan and do a detox, that's great. Do the Shed Slim. You can do it on your own, right? But if you recognize that there's so much more behind this and you want to understand like, okay, no, I need the mental tools. I need the neural rewiring in order to sustain this, because I don't want to gain again and then fall off and then get in a fight with my husband and go off the way, like all of that other stuff. It's not good. I think if you're a victim mentality who's unwilling to look at how to break that, it's not going to be good. I think if you're used to pointing the fingers and having a what can you do for me expectation, it's not good. And like you said, if you're not willing to share the humanness of the struggle and all you want to talk about is like, what am I putting in my mouth? It is definitely not a good fit. It's not a good, that would be great for one-on-one nutrition therapy with Whole Woman Health. We would love to help you with that, but it's, you miss the essence of it. You know, you really do, because we're all sharing the same struggle, right? Maybe just at different times. So I appreciate you so much. I am so impressed by your growth, especially like, what was it a couple months ago when you came and you're like, listen, life is just chaotic and I'm going to stop fighting it and I'm going to work with it. And it is what it is. It was like, you could visibly see the weight just shed from your body. And you're like, okay, I'm going to work with reality. I'm not going to resist reality anymore. Let's go. And you, every time you do that, you can see every time like you have a shift, you just look visibly lighter. And I'm talking about more like your energy field. And of course your physical being, right? But you see it on your face. You just look lighter and brighter. And you're like, it's been awesome. So thank you. Anything else? Is there anything else you want to share? Because, right, again, you are busy. Everybody needs to find you if they're buying or selling a house, literally, because you are talented, you are educated, you understand, right? Like you've had so much growth and you understand like struggle and decision-making, like you get that. So like they need to find you and work with you, but anything else that you need to tell people out there, the women out there, to help them with this decision, whether to join or not join. And there's no like, right, like just your words of wisdom.
Yeah. I think, you know, the only other thing I would say, and I probably have said this a million times already, is, you know, if you're on the fence about it and you're willing to make changes, then go for it. Because I have never once regretted saying yes to the shed. And I know that I would have regretted not doing it.
Oh, dang.
That's all. That's my mic drop. That's all I got.
Oh my God. All right.